Alright, what's up guys? So, I thought I'd make a quick follow-up video to my previous video, which was just how to use channels, triggers, buttons, and it was pretty much all basics on how to use those, and it's been doing pretty well lately, so I thought I'd make a quick follow-up on some different ways you can use channels and triggers and some other devices, some more advanced ways to use it. So, let's get into it just by let's just grab a trigger and a button real fast just to start it off. So if you haven't watched my first video, the link is in my description. So I would go ahead and watch that video if you want to get a quick overview. If you're ready to move on, if you already know how channels work, here's just some like extra tips, some more advanced ways you can use channels. So I'll start it off by showing how you can use channels for timers, and this is actually really helpful in a lot of different maps. One that I use it in is I made an edit course map, and it's really helpful in that because in edit courses, you know, you want it to be timed, you want to see if you can beat your score and get better. So before, let's say if you got your edit course starting right here, right? Let's say it's on either side. Okay, so before you'd have to go over here, you'd have to hit the timer would start, and then you'd go. Now, a way you can make it a lot smoother for your map is, here, let me delete this real fast. A way you can make it a lot smoother is by actually using channels, and I'm going to do that with the trigger here. So I'm going to copy this over. And what I'm going to want to do is, since you want the timer to start when you enter the course, I'm going to move this with a pitch, okay? And then I'm going to make it so that it's flat up against the stair here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to resize it. Oh, here, I'm going to, where's it at? Okay, I'm going to resize it so that it's the full length of the stair, so that you don't just have to hit one point, okay? And then I'm going to change some of the settings on this so that, you know, it doesn't show in game, makes it a lot smoother, and then so you don't have to run over it, and so there's no bump there. So what I'm going to do is no delay, unless you choose to, no delay, no reset delay. I'm going to turn the sound off, I'm going to turn the VFX off, just so that all it does is when you enter, it's just going to start the timer. There's not going to be any distracting noises, any distracting sounds, any distracting like visual stuff. So I'm going to turn the visibility in-game off, so that's a lot smoother. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go all the way down to the very bottom. When triggered, transmit on, let's set that to channel 1. So basically, if you remember from my last video that I made, or if you already do stuff like this, what that's going to do is that when you walk over this turns on channel 1. And then, so when you do the timer, if you go down to the bottom, there's a ton of different options here. So there's start, pause, reset, enable, disable, complete, set lap time, and when it's complete, this can actually have its own channel. What I'm going to choose for this purpose is start when receiving from channel 1. So when I walk across this tile, this is going to turn on the timer. And so that's pretty helpful for maps like that, maps like edit courses, where you don't want to have to waste time going over here and then going all the way back. Also, if you're playing against someone, it gives them an unfair advantage if they're over here and ready, because one person has to come over, hit the timer. So it just makes it overall a lot smoother, and I'll show that in game in a second here at the very end. So walk through if you want to see how that works in game, and if you want to see how this is not there. So there's a lot of other devices you can use. Basically every single device that's in the devices category is able to be connected with channels. So even something like so we talked about this in my last video, the explosive device. Let's look at, what should we look at here? We can even look at, let's look at a sentry, okay? So I'm gonna place the sentry down. Now I'm gonna customize this, and again, it's almost always in the bottom with the channel. So you can spawn when receiving from and when eliminated transmit on. So we just did something with starting when you're receiving from something. Now let's make this have a channel. When eliminated, transmit on, and then let's do channel 2, okay? Now let's make it a little bit more complex here since this is an advanced video. So on channel 2, once you eliminate this, so this will start channel 2. Now let's do something here. Let's grab an explosive device, okay? And let's say to get to the next level, you have to break through these walls, okay? To get to the next level. So let's say the next level is like right here, okay? And let's say this is in like a death run or something, or a story map or something like that. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab an explosive device. I'm gonna copy this and I'm gonna bring this over to the wall, okay? And then I'll place it right there. And then what I'm gonna do with this is we'll go back and fix the different stuff in a bit, but let's go right to the channels here. So explode when receiving from channel 2. And what that's basically gonna do is once we eliminate this sentry, okay, then this is gonna explode and then it's gonna destroy these walls and allow you to get to the next part. Now if you don't want to have something where like players can break the walls in the building, if you want to be able to have them like they have to kill the sentry in order to get past, what you can do with this is damage indestructible buildings. You can change that to yes, and then just change structure damage to like 1,000, and then player damage to 0 if you just want to break the walls. Blast radius we can make it like 2, it's fine. And then yeah, we'll just change some of these here. And then okay, so let's do this real fast, and I'll show off these two real fast. First I'm gonna grab a gun, and then I'm gonna drop it on the ground just so I can pick it up and kill the sentry. And then another thing, I have to change this so that the auto start is off. And then I just want to make sure that you could change the whether or not it has an alarm audio. I'll have that off just for our purposes. And then alright, so that's changed, that's on the ground. Let me start the game. Let me show you guys these two right here, and then maybe I'll show one more example. Alright, so apparently I did leave. Oh, this was the first channel that I accidentally placed, but as you can see, the larger channel is completely gone. So what's gonna happen, even if I walk over here, not on this channel, but even if I walk over here, since this is starting the same tile, it should have just started the timer right now. And let's take a look, and it did start the timer when I went up that. So what would happen there is you would start, and then you would do your edit course, you know. Alright, so let's show the sentry now. So I'm gonna go over to the sentry, so that wall is there, okay? You can choose whether or not to have that invisible there, but I chose to just have it visible just so we can see. So I'm gonna walk into the sentry. I kill the sentry, and the walls explode them immediately after I kill him. So that's yeah, it's really helpful for maps, you know, like if you wanna create a story map, or if you want to make a death run, maps like that. So let me show another thing. Let me end the game. I'll show one more of the ways you can use channels and triggers. So I'm gonna return to the island and let's get something else started. So I'm gonna do, let's see, so what should we do here? What's another thing I should show off? So we could do, there's so many options. Basically all of these options, obviously not the traps, but most of these options are going to be able to be used with channels and triggers. So let's do even an item spawner plate can be used, or even damage volume. So let me show with those two. So let me show with the item spawner plate. You can set it so that, let's grab an item real fast. So let's grab just a double barrel shotgun, okay? and then we're gonna drop that in the item spawner. Okay, if you didn't already know, that's how item spawners are used in creative. So we can do, let's just set these off, visible during games. We'll set that on just so we can see it. And then let's go all the way down here until, so enabled at game start. Let's do yes. And then we could do when item picked up, transmit on. Let's set that to channel 3. So once we pick up the item, something will happen. So we can choose basically what's gonna happen there once we pick up that item. So let's say that, let's do this here. Let's do this here. Let's say, I know this is not like the most practical use of it, but let's say we've got here and here, okay? We've got some walls here, okay, that are blocking these walls. On these walls, I'm gonna grab some poison dart traps, okay? So, oh wait, I can switch over to them. So we got poison dart traps on either side of this wall right here, okay? And then what I'm gonna do here now is I'm gonna grab some explosive devices, just because those are pretty good to kind of showcase the way you can use channels and triggers. I'm gonna put it up against this right here, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna change this to no player damage. We'll do 150 structure damage to just break that wall. Actually, let's change it to 200 damage indestructible buildings. We'll just say yes. And then the blast radius, let's put that in 0.25 so it only destroys that wall. Knockback, we'll turn that off. And then what we're gonna do is, since we set that item pickup, since we set that to 3, we're gonna explode when receiving from channel 3, okay? And I'm gonna copy this over to this side, and it'll be the same for this side as well. And then basically what's gonna happen with this is kind of like a booby trap scenario, just so I can show off like what it can do and the different ways you can set different channels off. And there's so many different uses. I mean, and there's a ton of new stuff in creative, like all these different settings. You can even add channels and triggers to like the storm. Like you can set up a button that will turn on the storm if you want. So many different things. Collectibles gallery, you can as well. Let me show that right before I finish up this, just real quick. So you can customize this so that at the very bottom, when collected, transmit on, and let's say like you got a final coin, you know, in a death run, if you've just got any other kind of map, any map that you're making, any different kind of map that uses collectibles like this, like you can set it so that when you collect this coin, it'll set something off, or it'll make something open, or it'll do something like this, what I'll show here. So this should work right now. Let me go ahead and start the game, and then I'll go down into that. Alright, so we see the double barrel shotgun has spawned. Now these traps should not go off since I've got walls blocking right now. Okay. So I'm standing right here, okay? Neither of those traps are going off. But then I pick up the double barrel shotgun. Both of those explode and I immediately get hit. So that's just a fun way to showcase how you can use a little bit more advanced versions of the triggers and channels in general. Where you can set the triggers able to be able to start other things, and then you can set the channels onto tons of other devices, not just triggers, not just buttons. So a little bit more advanced for you guys, anyone that's trying to make a good map. Yeah, the channels and triggers are the best way to do it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thought I'd make a part 2, a slightly more advanced version to my other video, which is in the link in my description. I know I said that already, but if you haven't already seen that, go check it out. And yeah, thank you for coming to see my channel. Thank you for supporting me, and make sure, if you're not already, subscribe to my channel. It really helps me out, and it's completely free for you, so you know, doesn't negatively affect you. I've got some other content, other videos of some games. I've got some montages. My most recent video is a montage, so go ahead and check that out. Thank you guys so much for watching, and see you guys.